Okay. As soon as we get the guy who's just dropped out back, we will crack on.
I'll just have to play a female character with a very deep voice. So you know.
That's fine, man. I was talking to someone about this in one of the panels a minute ago, and they're talking about doing character voices. And I was like, with the best will in the world, if I play a female character or a soft-spoken character, there's only so high I can get my voice without ruining my throat. So
yeah,
don't worry about it.
Yeah.
The last game I played, we had like 4 guys, and at least 2 of them were playing female characters, and I was like, just talk normally, dude. It's absolutely fine. We can use our imaginations.
Yeah, she's very masculine, you know.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you can play Megan a bit like that. I mean, after all, you're sort of in the situation where you're like, oh, I come from a very sort of macho family almost. You try to like build yourself into this warrior that you think they'd want you to be. So it's quite possible you might be a little bit on the butch or masculine side.
The Dalish elves, they're not slaves, or how does that go?
Basically, the way it works with elves, once the sort of great elf lands were sort of overrun, a lot of the elves were taken as slaves. However, the Dalish elves separated away. Oh, yeah. They chose to try and keep their ancient traditions going, but their lands have been so thoroughly like destroyed that there's not actually much for them to cling on to. So it's like the tattoos on their face. They know there's some kind of like ancient markings that they sort of keep going, but they don't really understand exactly what they're for. They just sort of know that it's important for them to keep these ancient tattoos on their faces. And they have the tradition where, unlike the humans, where they have the chantry and the Templars to like monitor people who can use magic, they basically say they have one mage per tribe. If more people with magical talent are born, they sort of encourage them to go their own way and find their own way in the world, because they know too many mages in the sort of confined area can be quite dangerous.
Okay.
So in Nethra's case, you were sort of going your own way, doing your own thing when you came across the rest of the characters, and Karnak under attack by Darkspawn, you helped them out. And as a result of that, that led to you becoming a Grey Warden. So again, it's Karnak sort of offering you a place in the world, a place where you can just be yourself and fit in. You don't really have to worry about the chantry so much coming along and going, oh, you're an apostate, stop using magic, you're evil. Because you'll be like, actually, I think you'll find them. Grey Warden, check the badge.
There's no restrictions on a Grey Warden when it comes to magic.
No, you might get looked askance at. I mean, certainly you'll probably get a few sidelong glances anyway, because you're a Dalish elf. But as long as you're not going around to like roasting people alive in their villages and stuff like that, it's pretty much sort of like you're a Grey Warden. And most people don't really understand what the Grey Wardens do anyway. They just know that they're important for fighting against the Darkspawn. So most people ignore Grey Wardens until a blight starts working its way up and the Darkspawn appear, and suddenly they're like, oh shit, we need someone to fight these Darkspawn. And then they're like, the Grey Wardens are like, oh, you seem to have forgotten about us, Grey Wardens. And then they're like, oh yes, no, we didn't forget about you, Grey Wardens. If you could just save us, that'd be absolutely fantastic.
Cool.
Okay, I'll give the other guy sort of 5-10 minutes to get back on. Hopefully he's just rebooting his computer or sorting his browser out. And then we'll crack on.
Use the occasion.
Yeah, no problems. Okay, so I'll give the other guy a couple of minutes to get back online, and then we'll push on with or without.
Yeah, apparently he's having a trouble with the plugin. But
Yes.
If you're in contact with him, just tell him to, if he can connect with Chrome, then just tell him to connect with Chrome and don't worry about the overlay. It's nice, but it's not. I'd rather have him in the Hangout and not have an overlay than have him worrying about Firefox. Oh, here we go.
Sorry about that.
That's all right, dude. I was just saying to the guys, if you can only connect with Chrome or you can't get your overlays to work, don't worry about it. It's a nice thing to have, but I'd much rather have you in the Hangout and playing in the game and not worry about the overlay, to be perfectly honest. Every man and his dog seems to be having trouble with overlays in like every Hangout I've been in since like the dawn of time. So certainly don't worry about that.
Okay.
So are you guys about ready to get started then?
hell yeah.
Yep.
Okay, excellent. Just let me add my screen here. There we go. Let's stick that on there. Boom. There we go. Okay, so if I can ask everyone to mute their microphone, I will start the broadcast. And like I said, I'm going to do a quick intro. Then I'll ask you all to introduce yourselves. Feel free to plug a YouTube channel if you have it. Say a bit about your character, etc. Okay, so I'm going to start the broadcast now. Welcome to this Dragon Age BrigadeCon 2016. I'm losing a year there. The Darkness Within ran in the aid of Child's Play, a very worthy charity. In our game, a long winter has gripped the land of Ferelden, and in their thoughts and dreams, the Grey Wardens feel a great darkness beginning to stir. Our player characters, a group of young Grey Wardens, only recently, a couple of years ago, inducted into their august ranks, were expecting word from their mentor, Karnak, the man who brought them all into the Grey Wardens. 3 days ago, they were expecting word from him. However, they have heard absolutely nothing. The messengers that you sent to seek out Karnak in the town of Whitepeak have not returned, and there has been no word from the town's ruler, Arl Telvar. Having decided to seek out your mentor and give him what aid you can, the four of you make your way down the dirt road that leads to the fortified town. It's early morning, and in the dark of the winter, the only light is cast by the lantern that Jarv carries and the flickering yellow glow that plays around the tip of Nethra's mage staff. Now I'm going to ask each of my players to introduce themselves and say a little bit about their characters. So first of all, if we can go to Honora.
Okay. Honora is an elven warrior. She was a former slave. She was escaped, and she escaped in a boat from slavery. And unfortunately, her master followed her, and she was very lucky that Karnak managed to intervene and save her from that. And so doing, it sort of gave Honora a purpose. She decided she wanted to be stronger and able to defend herself so that she never got into a situation like that again. And Karnak was the one that suggested that, and that's the path that they took. So that's brought her into the Grey Wardens. And from there, she's got many issues to deal with from having been a slave, but she's very firm in her belief that this is what she needs to do, and she's very devoted to Karnak.
Thank you very much. If we can move on then to Nethra, our Dalish elf.
Yeah. So Nethra is a mage, and she basically ran across the Grey Wardens as they were defending the village against the Darkspawn, and by using her magic, she helped them to defeat the Darkspawn. And following that event, she joined up and with the Karnak, and currently heading to the village. Yep.
Okay, thank you very much. So we move on to Megan.
So, hello, I'm Nicholas. I'm gonna be playing Megan. So Megan is a human fighter, and she's actually the daughter, but illegitimate daughter of the Arl Telvar, who's the Arl of the castle we're going to visit. And she has some conflict with her family, at least on the side of her Arl Telvar. So she joined the Grey Warden on the request of Karnak, who sees in her a very good potential, and we'll see how that goes.
Okay, thank you very much. And last but by no means least, we move over to our Dwarven Dusker, Jarv.
Jarv is a rogue, a Dwarven rogue. He wound up killing a noble in his past for reasons he felt were justified. This resulted in him being banished to the surface. And so he flitted around for a while without purpose, just committing petty crimes and stuff to stay afloat. And he was eventually picked up by the Grey Wardens, but instead of incarcerating him, they recognized his potential and gave him a chance to fight for them. And he has reasons to hate Darkspawn, and so he happily took up this offer, and he's looking forward to killing as many as he can.
Okay, thank you very much. So, as I've said, we begin the scene with you all stood on the snowy road that leads to the town of Whitepeak, where Arl Telvar's castle is situated. It's a compacted dirt track, not really a road so much, but you can see that it's largely been covered in a sort of few inches of snow. The snow is falling down quite heavily, and it looks as though as you're moving into the deeper winter in Ferelden, that the weather may be getting worse and worse. As you start to move down the road, you hear faintly in the distance the sound of hoofbeats clattering down the road, coming towards you from just around the bend. And you can hear a voice going,
I'd like to immediately take cover, find some place to hide.
Not a problem. The road is lined with trees, shrubs, etc. You duck behind a tree, sort of peering out.
All right. So, is there anything we can see?
Okay, you peer down the road, and as you look into the distance, you can see snow being kicked up, and you see a small one-horse cart. The horse is galloping down the road. You can see a small figure with a wide-brimmed hat sort of pulled down over his face, and some sort of bandana or cloth around his face, perhaps to protect him from the snow. You can see he's like lashing the reins really hard, like, as this cart's galloping down the road.
Okay, step out of the road. Is he just going to pass us?
He seems as though he's about to go past you, but as he sort of draws level, and he doesn't seem to have spotted Jarv, but he spots you, Nether, and he goes, you go, whoa, and he pulls on the reins. The horse slowly slows down to a canter, then eventually a walk and a stop. The figure ties off the reins, climbs down off the cart, pulls this cloth covering from around his face, and you see a male dwarven face peering out. He raises a hand to shield himself from the snow, and he's like, who's that? Who's there? Sorry, my eyesight's not very good.
I'm Nethra, a Grey Warden. What is your haste? What's going on?
He jerks his thumb back down the road and he says, I'm trying to get away from that place quickly as I can. If you take my word for it, you jump on the back of the car and come with me.
Well, what's going on over there?
I've no idea. I normally stop there on my way past. I do a little bit of trading there. I'm one of the surface traders here about. Nothing spectacular, but I occasionally stop off. I pick up extra provisions. I trade a few bits and pieces, and then I carry on my way. I've been doing it for years, but when I went there, the whole place was deserted.
Deserted?
Yes, everything covered in snow. Normally the villagers of Whitepeak, they're fairly proud of their village. They at least keep the main thoroughfare free of snow, even in weather like this. But the whole place, it looked like no one had been there for ages.
No tracks, nothing?
Not that I could see, but with this snowfall, who can tell? And he sort of says, almost to him, as though he's talking to himself, he goes, an elf?
Well, yeah.
You don't mind me asking, a young lady, you're a daily shelf, if I judge by the markings on your face. What's one of the Dalish doing around the town of Whitepeak? And he pulls his jacket a bit closer around himself, his shield from the cold.
What is important is that I'm a Grey Warden, and there's rumors of Darkspawn in this area. That's why I'm here.
He throws his hand up and he says, there's always rumours of Darkspawn. Why, we dwarves in Orzammar, we've been fighting Darkspawn for the last God knows how many years. The surface dwellers, they only bother about it when the Darkspawn bubble up from the depths. Oh, then it's a big problem. No one cares about it when it's just down in Orzammar on the deep roads.
Well, you asked me, so that was my answer.
Oh, yes, well,
no need to get too excited.
I suppose you've got me there. So, sorry, I'm just a little shook up by the state of the town. Normally, they're such friendly people. I've grown quite fond of them. And then he sort of seems to spot your other two companions, Megan and Nora. And you see him raise his eyebrows. He's like, "Oh, another elf."
Do you have a problem with elves?
No. It's just we don't see many elves in Whitepeak. It's a very small town. Of course, I've seen elves in my travels, but not normally hereabouts. It just surprised me. I didn't mean anything by it.
So, can you tell us anything else about the town?
Well,
what else?
Not...
As in, so you're saying the only thing that disturbed you was that there was snow on the ground and it hadn't been cleaned up. Did you notice, were there any fires burning? Any smoke coming out of chimneys?
No, not that I could see at all. The window, all the doors were shut on the houses. They were dark. Normally, you can at least see a candle flickering through the window, or like you say, the smoke from the chimneys. But no, it was as though the whole place had been abandoned.
But no sign of damage. And the last time you were there was when, good sir?
Oh, let's see. It would have been 4 months ago. Would have been my last pass through here. And it seemed fine then. I stopped in at one of the local inns. I had some food. I took on provisions. I exchanged a few goods. I went on my way. Everything seemed normal. I was just swinging past again to do likewise. And like I say, the whole place, I didn't like the look of it. And I thought, well, if there's no one here, there's no point in me, a trader, being there if there's no one to trade with. So I jumped back in my cart and I got out of there as quickly as I could. I've got enough provisions if I stretch them out to see me through to the next holding.
That sounds logical. What you may do, good sir, is if you'd be so good to warn the next village that you go what you've seen and warn any Grey Wardens there. That 4 of us are probably, I assume the rest of us are with us, that we're going to go and investigate this. Because this is...
You're a Grey Warden as well?
We all are.
Oh, by the deep roads, I've never seen more than one Grey Warden in any place at one time. If you don't mind me asking it, and again, I don't mean any offence, I'm just curious. Well, what brings you all to a small town like Whitepeak? So many of you, 3 of you.
We're actually looking for a friend of ours, another Grey Warden.
All Grey Wardens?
Yes.
But I didn't see. I didn't see anyone in the town of Whitepeak. Never mind a Grey Warden. And I think I would have noticed seeing a Grey Warden. But yes, I'll certainly warn the next town. What is it I'm warning them of?
Just what you saw, and that 4 of us went in here. And if we don't communicate with the Grey Wardens in a short while, I don't know what time spans work here, but let's say in a fortnight, if there's no message from us, then they should certainly send somebody to investigate.
Yes, I'll warn them, but I don't think they'll take the word of a lowly surface dwarf trader that I saw an empty town, got a bit spooked, and then met some Grey Wardens on the road. I don't know they'll take it seriously, but with the mention of Grey, I know, and again, I don't mean any disrespect. I know people surfacers only tend to value your kind when there's a blight or when you're needed. In Orzammar, where I come from, we know how hard it is to fight against the Darkspawn. We know that when your Grey Wardens have finished your time and you feel the end on you, you go to the deep roads for one last glorious battle, and we admire that. I'll make sure I tell them, and I wish you good luck in whatever your endeavours are.
Well, hopefully this is not our last battle.
Well, I hope so too. If I had my wish, then perhaps we'll all meet up in the next town and we'll all have a drink together. And as he's saying this, he's climbing back onto his cart. He pulls this little piece of cloth up around his face and he says, "Well, good luck to you, Wardens. May the Maker, if that's who you believe in, may he look after you and your endeavours. Run there!" And the horse starts, and you hear this as the horse trots away in the cart, squeaks after it.
Look at
A
him
few
go.
moments later, you hear it receding into the distance, leaving you all alone on this snowy road.
Once he's out of sight, I'll step out of cover. Never hurts to have a hidden dagger in your boot.
I guess that's very true. I think we need to push on here.
Agreed.
Something
This town
is-
seems worth investigating.
Yeah.
Yeah, Megan seems preoccupied. She was very silent. This is her town, and usually it's very clear that there should be people, especially people selling stuff.
Indeed, as you know, Megan, Whitepeak is a sort of bustling trade town. So normally there'd be at least people trading goods. You know, after all, they've got a fairly large inn there because so many people travel through, like the dwarf that you've just met. So you'd expect it to be, even in this sort of cold weather as you're moving into the deeper winter, you'd still expect it to have a reasonable sort of trickle of trade running through it. It's very dissettling for you to hear that.
Yes, I fear the worst already. This is not good. Maybe
Do you say
we'll
that
go
out
to the
loud, or is
castle.
that all just to yourself?
No, I'm just saying, like, yeah, she pretty says that out loud. She looks very worried. She was already being very silent all the road until there, I guess. But most of you probably know that this is her town, even if she
So-
doesn't speak much about it.
So you all hear Megan sort of like murmuring these concerns under her breath, as though she's like muttering to herself, but sort of out loud so you can all hear it.
We'll be disappointed if we don't find someone worth stabbing.
George, you're not helping Megan. Megan, I'm sure there's nothing there's probably an explanation for this. He didn't see any damage or any bodies. They may have just have all fled for some reason. Don't jump to conclusions. But since you know the town, you can probably tell us how best to approach it, if there were something wrong with it. What would be the best vantage point to see what's going on in the city?
Okay, Megan, you know that there are a number of sort of hills around the town that you could potentially gain a vantage point over the town. There's the central road or path that you're on now leads sort of through the middle of the town, and then it heads up to Arl Telvar's fortress or castle, which is situated on the edge of a cliff.
Yeah, so Megan will think a bit. We could go to the hills, see from above, but I don't know. I'm tempted to just rush in it. I'm very preoccupied. I really want to solve this as quick as I can.
We can stand here guessing until we freeze solid. Let's go see for ourselves. I'm just going to start heading in that direction.
Okay, no problems. Jarv starts walking down the road. As I say, it's been snowing quite heavily, so the snow's getting quite deep, but you don't have any problems with movement on the road. It's absolutely fine. Are the rest of you following? Or?
Yeah, I'm following along.
Okay.
Impatient dwarf.
Yeah, we're probably already, like, we know he's like that. We've been together for a few years, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Well, if it wasn't for him, he would probably not be here by now.
Okay, so you make your way down this sort of central road towards Whitepeak. And as you get near to the town, you can indeed see these buildings dotted about around this central road. There's a large building that you know to be the inn, a few residences dotted about. There's what you know to be, Megan, to be a blacksmith's. However, as you're approaching it, aside from the sounds of the snow falling and the slight sound of the wind, and maybe a few birds that haven't yet migrated as the winter's setting in, the town appears to be largely silent. Not a single candle flickers in the windows of the building as you approach. Everything appears to be dark.
How deep is the snow piled here? In other words, at some point there would have been footprints in the snow, and then snow fell and covered them up. So if it's like a lot of snow, it could have been a while ago. If it's a little bit of snow, it wouldn't have been that long ago. So that's what I'm
indeed, you can see the snow is at least sort of like 3 feet deep as you sort of start heading into the town.
Megan, is there a central well or something like that where people get their water?
I guess there would be. I don't know if it's still working, but
could be a mountain, river, or spring.
But if there's my point being, if there's a well, then if there's anybody in the city, they would have to go to the well sooner or later to get water. I think that might be a likely place to see tracks.
If there were anyone in the city, they would have frozen to death. I didn't see a single fire or sign of smoke.
Well,
and if they have heat, they can melt the snow and get water that way.
Okay, you do indeed know there is a sort of central well just off to the right of the road as you're walking in, Megan. Also, you know the layout of the village.
Yeah. We could check it out, that's true.
Or I guess you're from this village, we could go to your home.
I appreciate the concern, but I'm not sure that's necessary to go especially to my home. Everyone needs to be checked, not only my family.
Let's have a look about. The people that were here had to have gone somewhere.
Okay, not a problem. So I'm going to ask, since you're at the front job, I'm going to ask you to make the first roll of the game, which surprisingly is a perception roll. So you need to roll 3d6 and you can add your perception rating to it.
No pressure.
Okay, you're on mute, Rob.
I'm sorry. So I'm just a rules question.
Yeah, no
I
problems.
have a check mark besides perception, which I believe means a focus in it. So that means I get to add 2 to the roll as well, right?
That is entirely correct.
Okay. So this is going to be +6, whatever this comes to.
Just let me know what your final score is.
Yeah, I got the dicing. So 13.
Okay, not a problem. See, you're the first to actually reach the outskirts of the town since you were a little bit ahead of the main party. And as you're walking in, something strikes you as odd. You're not able to sort of put your finger on it as you reach the outskirts of the town. But then as you look around, you notice that the way the snow's fallen, it's not sort of reasonably flat as you'd expect it to be. You notice it seems to be like sort of piled up in like great humps and sort of bumps throughout the town.
Hold, and I'll point that out to them.
Okay.